Hello and welcome to another discussion on Indian polity. Today in this video we'll try to understand why Indian polity is one of the most loved subjects and also one of the most feared subjects among across all the civil service aspirants. In this slide we have tried to analyze the importance as per the various amount of questions that has been asked over the years in the prelims examination of the UPSC. So basically we get to see in the year of 2017 there is around 18 number of questions that has been asked. As you know, the total number of questions in GS1 of prelims is just 100, and out of these 100 if we get around 18 number of questions only from the polity section, so it's almost around 20% of the paper, right? In next year we get to see a little bit of slide downfall in the number of questions, but again this is core polity plus the if we include the current affairs, it again comes around the number of 20 that we have predicted. In 2019 again it is of the similar trend, and in 2020 we get to see a very high spike that has been in the terms of 17 questions out of the 100 that you get to see. Again, the similar trend gets reflected in the next year of prelims, that is in 2021, and this year's prelims, as we are almost on the verge of appearing for it, we are very hopeful that the number will maintain across this subject, all the more making Indian polity very important for all of us to study. Quickly, just brushing up, if we have to talk about what to study and how to study, let us quickly take some examples of the questions that has been asked in the previous year papers, and that brings us to clear more perspectives. I think the best way to understand any exam is to analyze the questions. So in this question, let us try to understand what is being asked and how to solve such question. As you have already studied about the fundamental duties and other important core basic structures of the constitution, this question is asking, this is a model question for your prelims basically. This question is asking, under the Constitution of India, which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? The first mistake that many of my students that I get to see is they don't identify this not. They directly go on to see which is the fundamental duty among this. We should not commit such a mistake. The second thing is that fundamental duty, when we talk about fundamental duty, we have to quickly identify that it is in the part 4A of the Indian Constitution, given by Article 51A. These recommendations, we have to know that the fundamental duty was not originally there in the Indian Constitution, and it was added by the recommendation of a special committee formed under Swaran Singh. This is the core basic idea that should immediately spike your minds when you read about fundamental duties. Now let's quickly see the questions. It is asking, under the Constitution of India, which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? See guys, just by seeing the options only, if you have just done the Lakshmikant or the class notes that has been given, it is very clearly evident that the correct answer is option A. To vote in public elections, basically the casting of vote has not been added in the part 4A of the Constitution. Point to be noted here is that interestingly we get to see that Swaran Singh committee did recommend to add this provision into the part 4A, into the fundamental duty section of the Indian Constitution, but when the honorable parliament was basically amending the constitution and adding this particular provision in the constitution, it curtailed from adding up this particular provision. So this was also discussed, and we basically know that casting of vote and to vote in public elections is, this is a factual based question basically. Other than that, all these options, scientific temper, safeguard public property, abide by the constitution and its respect its ideals, all of these has been added by the amendment that was made. So this is a factual nature question. As you can see, if you have ever been through the chapter, it's a very straightforward question. This is a UPSC level or a APSC level question which has been asked in past years, right? Next, let us move on to a different genre of question that has been very favorite section, specifically if we are to see the prelims after 2017 onwards. We get to see certain questions which are based on understanding based questions which are not very factual, like these. Which one of the following reflects the nicest and appropriate relationship between law and liberty? The question is asking, please take a minute in understanding what is it asking. It is asking that which is the most appropriate relation between the two terms law and liberty. Now law, as you know, what is law? It's a statute. It's a statute. And what is liberty? Liberty is anything that allows you to do what you feel like, to do what you want, right? So law and liberty, what kind of a relation may it have? Let us look at the options. The first option is saying if there are more laws, there is less liberty. It says that more laws may create more restraints and it may lead to less liberty. Second option, if there are no laws, there is no liberty. It is saying that if there are basically there is no statute that has been developed, there will be no liberty as well. If the third option, if there is a liberty, laws have to be made by the people. It is saying that liberty, if there is a liberty in any country, if the people are having the freedom to do some things, then laws have to be made by the people. It is saying that law has to be made by the people. The fourth option, if laws are changed too often, liberty is in danger. Now, reading all of these options, I would like to you should also try to solve this simultaneously. But this, I would like you to concentrate on option B. Option B, this option is saying that when there are no laws, there is no liberty. Let's try to understand this. Basically, what is liberty? Liberty is anything. Liberty is that power that leads you or that allows you to do as per your wish. As per your wish. Now imagine if I have absolute liberty. If I have absolute liberty, I might go and slap someone, I might go and absolutely kill someone as well. Now that leads to what? That leads to violation of the liberty of the other person. The liberty starts basically from my end and it will go on till no limits if there are no laws. So if there are no laws stopping me, if there is no statute which is violating or which is letting you know that going beyond the limits might hamper the liberty of yours, or it might lead to killing of some other person, that is leading to no liberty of the other person, right? If my liberty is absolute, your liberty is almost zero. So we need proper laws which limits the liberty of a person until it hampers the rights of the other. So I think the option B is the option that you should select in this kind of a option, in this kind of a question basically. So this is a little bit of ideological based question, needs a better understanding of laws, liberties and rights. So these are some of the questions which has been recently in spike in the recent rounds of UPSC, which makes it a little tough and which makes good aspirants score more marks because they will have better understanding of the topic. Moving on, this we have already discussed the importance of this subject in the prelims. Let us now quickly see the importance of this subject in the mains section. Mains basically covers, if you have to talk of mains, polity is covered in the GS2 paper of UPSC. Of the UPSC, GS2 paper is where the polity section is included. If you check up 2021 question paper of the UPSC, if you check up 2021 paper, there will be around almost 9 to 10 questions after out of the 20 questions that has been asked. Of course, the remaining 10 questions is also important, but that are those are basically spread across a gamut of subjects like international relations, governance, etc. So Indian polity again becomes very instrumental in cracking your mains because 50% of your GS2 paper is covered by it. Again, let us try to take a small example to understand the approach of studying this paper or this subject for the mains perspective. This is again a UPSC 2021 question. Let us take up the exact question that has been asked in the exam. How have the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission of India enabled the states to improve their fiscal position? Now, my dear friends, we often take up Lakshmikant as the core and most favorite book of all aspirant regarding this subject. But this question, I've taken selectively this question because this proves that Lakshmikant is not enough for cracking your mains basically. You may not find the answer anywhere in Lakshmikant to this kind of a question. That makes polity a very dynamic subject. To understand polity, you have to have deeper understanding of current affairs, right? Newspaper reading is very instrumental. Let us try to see what kind of facts and figures that is required to answer this question. I have just added a model answer, just the key points. You have to of course divide your question into introduction, body and conclusion, which we can discuss. But for now, let us just see the key points that is gonna help you answer this question. The first and foremost, in the introduction, you have to basically include Article 280, which is there in the Lakshmikant. See, Lakshmikant and current affairs needs to be balanced and appropriately used in the mains, strategically used in the mains. So this article, this fact is in Lakshmikant, but this fact is not. Who's the chairman of the recent 2000, like 14th Finance Commission, right? Which all years are covered in the 14th Finance Commission. These kind of facts you probably will not get in the Lakshmikant. The next round of facts are definitely not there in the Lakshmikant, and you have to refer to the newspapers that we have all suggested. Basically, you start off the answer with such small facts, basic facts, and in the body section you have to analyze. Let us understand the question first. It is asking how have the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission, the question is about 14th Finance Commission, enabled the states to improve their fiscal position. It is asking that this 14th Finance Commission, how has it made the position of states better in the fiscal position. Now all of you know from your basic understanding of fiscal policies and fiscal positions that it is related to the government budgeting. It is related to how you handle your overall budget for the year, for the entire financial year. So in the body section, you have to know, like, all these facts are from the newspapers. Okay. From the economic survey, you will get it. From the finance commission reports, you will get it. So such kind of facts has been amalgamated and you have to add it. So here, first point you write as increase the share of states in the center's divisible tax pool. Basically, whatever is the tax that is collected by the center, that is also sometimes given back to the states for their spending, and that has been increased from 32% to 42% in this particular finance commission. First point. Second point, there are various centrally sponsored schemes which are also implemented in the states. As you know, center has a very big share in those kind of schemes, but that also leads to decrease in the autonomy of the states. The autonomy drastically decreases because center often comes up and goes on to instruct you how to do there or how to not. Those 8 central sponsored schemes have been delinked from the support of the center, and that has given higher fiscal responsibility to the states basically, right? So that's a good thing for the states because that allows you autonomy and responsibility. The next point, tax devolution be the primary source of transfer of funds, and this would increase the devolutions. Basically, what is devolution? Basically, there is a central pool of taxes that has collected by the center, and that pool of taxes are sometimes shared with the state. So that tax pool needs to increase so that states has more fund in them and they can utilize that fund for the development of the states. So that is also said here. Next important point here is that grants in aid transfers were proposed, including grants to rural and urban local bodies. You know, rural local bodies hinge towards the panchayats, the PRI institutions, and urban local bodies are your municipalities, nagar panchayats, etc., and so on and so forth. A performance grant along with grants for disaster relief and revenue deficit has also been offered. Total transfers approximates to around 5.3 lakh crores for the period of 2015 to 2020. So in these 5 years, basically we get to see more than 5 lakh crores of money has been transferred to the states only in the respect of grants in aid. Sometimes some disaster has happened. Sometimes there is some unexpected revenue deficit, for example, because of COVID. So in such scenarios, the center automatically gives more money to the states than the desired amount. The desired amount is obviously given, but above that, grants in aid are also basically offered. The next point is talking about the GST compensation. As you know, we have passed the GST, the basically that has abolished various state taxes like the VAT and the excise duties, etc., and so on and so forth. So that basically uh, requires compensation to the states, because states have lost a big amount of revenue from the earlier taxes, that was in the terms of VAT and etc., all the indirect taxes basically. And to implement the GST, goods and service tax of the center actually promised the states that we will give you compensation for the next 5 years, so that you don't get bankrupt abruptly, right? And the compensation holds as such that 3 years in the case of revenue loss after GST implementation. Like, let's say GST is implemented in 2021 to 2021. If the GST is implemented in 2021, for next 3 years till 2024, they will give you full compensation of whatever loss you have incurred. After the 3-year term, the commission suggested that 100% compensation to be made in the first, second, and third years. But however, after the 3-year term, 75% compensation in the fourth year and 50% compensation in the fifth year only, right? So beyond 3 years also, they will provide you two more years of compensation. In the fourth year, basically you will get 75% of compensation, whatever loss you have incurred. And in the fifth year, you will get around 50% of compensation. Let's say the government of Assam has incurred 1,000 crore loss because of the because of non-implementation of the VAT or the other indirect taxes that the GST replaced. So center will give you 500 crores of it. Okay, let's say 1,000 crore has been the loss of Assam government. So 500 crores will be given by the center, and 500 crores is what you incur in the fifth year. This is because the center expects that within a 5-year period, the state will develop such mechanisms through which it can generate its new revenues, right? So this is how the factual amount of stuff which you cannot answer just by reading bluntly the Lakshmikant. This shows that how important reading your current affairs modules and current affairs magazines and newspapers are, right? So, and lastly, you can just conclude with some of the set provisions, like emphasis on implementation. We need to emphasize on the implementation of it. We need to ensure greater fiscal federalism and highlight the importance of it basically, right? This is your discussion of mains. So let us, we have seen prelims, both prelims and mains perspective, but we need to know how to now get to this level so that we can answer or tackle such questions. Let us try to see how to get to that. For that, I would like to include a small section of FAQs, frequently asked questions. First is, of course, your favorite question, that what books to read. What books to read? Now, this is no surprise that, of course, Lakshmikant is the best book that you can get. You also have DD Basu, you have, NCRTs, you have etc. etc. But Lakshmikant, if you have done it properly, I don't feel the need of going anywhere else except the 11th class NCRT. But what I need to let you know is that without proper newspaper reading, this subject cannot be aced, guys. My focus was that on discussion of those questions, right? Newspapers आपको add करना ही करना है. You have to mandatorily add the Hindu or the Indian Express to your reading module. Next, focus areas. Where do you need to focus? Is the entire Lakshmikant important to by heart? The answer is no. What do you need to understand? You need to understand the Constitution. You need to understand important parts like Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, the 12 schedules of the Indian Constitution. Repeatedly, we have seen questions in APSC in these parts basically. Next, the executives. You need to know what is the president's office like, what is the vice president's office, what is the difference between the powers of a prime minister or a president. All of these executive bodies, you have to know about them. Next, the legislation and important amendments. Legislation basically covers your parliament and the state legislatures. That is, of course, you do study, but what you miss out is on the important amendments that has been discussed. right? You need to know what happened on the 44th amendment. You need to know what is happening in the 42nd amendment, or the 99th constitutional amendment got abolished, why, right? So such kind of things you need to know, and constantly brush up your knowledge regarding newer bodies are being now giving constitutional status. For example, the NCBC got a very new amendment, right? So such kind of things needs to be your focus. Next up, you need to know the judiciary, the Supreme Court, the High Court, and the other lower courts, and the landmark judgments. For example, the Keshwananda Bharati case, or the Golaknath case, right? Or the Sajjan Singh case. Okay, so such kind of the landmark judgments which has given you the A.K. Gopalan case, right? All these kind of judgments that has been instrumental in defining the Indian judiciary's current stance needs to be revised. Next question that I often get from my students is, sir, how do I remember so many articles? Is polity all about articles? The answer is no, guys. Honestly speaking, no topper, no AIR one also remembers all the articles in the Constitution. What you do is that you only study the important articles. Important articles like the articles 12 to 35 or 36 to 51. These are very important. If you don't remember what is article 226, if you don't remember what is article 368, your polity is incomplete. But let's say you don't remember article 401, you don't remember article 201, you don't remember article 301. Okay, such kind of random articles, if you don't remember, that is okay. That is okay. But such kind of basic articles, that needs to be your focus point. We can discuss more on what all articles are to be read and remembered, but just to your satisfaction, not all of the articles are important. The next FAQ, we've already discussed the importance of current affairs. You already know it by now. We did discuss it in the terms of a mains question. The next, importance of revision. See guys, no topper has aced this exam without 6 to 7 or 5 to 6 times of revision of the Lakshmikant. You need to revise this book, because this entire book is like a note. The entire book, each and every line has a fact in it. So without that basic understanding, basic revision, you cannot basically mug up those kind of facts just by one reading, unless you are a superhuman, right? So we need to make sure that we are doing that on a regular basis. Please be very particular about your revision. These are the small tenets. How do you make those 18 questions in prelims a successful one, right? These, if you ensure all of these correctly, I'm damn sure that out of these 18 questions, at least 15 questions you will get it correct. Leave the 2 and 3s, because those two anyone will get wrong. Some questions are not to be answered also in the question in the UPSC basically. Okay, and the last and the most $1,000,000 question basically is that, do we need to make notes of Lakshmikant? The biggest answer, the most appropriate answer to that, as per my wisdom, would be no. You don't need to make a note of Lakshmikant, because that book itself is a note. You pick up the Lakshmikant, you show me which line is not important in that, right? The entire book, if you go on to make a note, you'll basically be typing another Lakshmikant out. What you can do is you can use different colors of markers and make it a more readable one. You can highlight the important parts and basically practice writing it. Writing practice can be done on that, but you don't need to basically make another note of Lakshmikant. That is what majority of toppers have done to ace this exam and not waste. You cannot give up so much of time to only Indian polity, because there are other subjects to cater, right? So for that, I think selective reading, highlighting, reading of current affairs, enough revision and question practice is the trick, and is the trick to the trade, and basically you can ace Indian polity in this manner. Thank you for your time and presence. I'll see you there in another video.
Borthakur IAS Academy. প্রস্তুতি আৰু অধ্যয়নৰ নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য ঠিকনা। Borthakur IAS Academy।